Hello there, everyone. My name's Adamew, the coach of the Minnesota Meow. This is going to be a new team name and a new draft league for you all. I was invited to join the Pocket Monsters Premier League, or the PMPL, for their new Wi-Fi division. And yeah, I'm super happy to be here. This is the first time I've ever been invited to a draft league properly. So this is a bit new water for me. I'm still in the Uber Pokemon Association, and yeah, I ultimately don't know how to phrase things because it is I just woke up. It's like 10 a.m. I know that doesn't sound bad, but trying to phrase things when you just woke up is pretty bad. So yeah, this is ultimately going to be a scuffed draft analysis video. Yeah, people will say this is a low tier draft. I don't know what they're talking about. I just like, yeah. So I think just rather than to talk about this totally not being a low tier draft, I think we should just go into the picks. So first pick, I got Flamigo. So Flamigo, it's not as good as Dragapult, unfortunately, but I mean, it's got a solid base 90 speed stat, good base 115 attack stat. I mean, it's only like 5 points off Dragapult, so I mean that's good, you know. But it's a fighting flying type, and it's generally pretty solid. It has Scrappy to hit ghost types with fighting type moves, so yeah. You see the moves it gets. It gets the obvious fighting flying stabs that you would expect of a fighting flying type. Of course, Combat Brave Bird. It gets access to coverage like Liquidation. What? I didn't like. I knew it got like Throat Chop, U-turn, stuff like that. I didn't know it got Liquidation. So, yeah. Which, that really preaches to how good the dual stabs are on this thing. And then U-turn and Throat Chop. It just hits everything without needing Liquidation. But Liquidation, it's just a funny move. And, yeah. But, well, it's going to be the first pick. So, second pick, we got Mismagius. So, Mismagius, while ultimately not as good as Fluttermane, unfortunately, it's about like 30 base stats off in the special stats and speed, so it's good enough. But good base 105 speed tier with 105 special attack. It hits super hard and gives me a nice offensive core to build this draft off of with Flamigo. It gets access to Will-Wisp and Thunderwave with Hex just to be generally a nuisance to opposing teams. Thunderwave can slow things down for Flamigo, like the other 91 or the 91 plus speed tier Pokemon. And it gets access to really good coverage like Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, Mystical Fire, Dazzling Wave, Psychic, Energy Ball, stuff like that. Mismagius can hit super hard, and it has really good coverage to boot. And Levitate ability makes it immune to not dragon types. I wish I made it immune to dragon types, but unfortunately no, it's ground types. Yeah. This draft analysis is going to be scuffed, like I said. So, yeah. Next Pokemon, I got Terra Captain Fion. So normal people would get like something like Mesprit or something as their Terra Captain, but I'm just like, nah. I want Fion. And so Fion is really solid. I mean, they banned a lot of moves in this draft league for no apparent reason, like Shell Smash, Dragon Dance, Stored Power. Like, with all these setup moves banned, they forgot one setup move. They forgot to ban Take Heart, which is a setup move that has the effect of Calm Mind, but it also cures status conditions for Fion. So that's just like really good, and I want to abuse that fact. And it has access to acid armor and solid coverage in and of itself with Scald, Ice Beam, Whirring Voice, Grass Knot, and whatever Terra Blast it wants. And then it has good utility with U-turn, Knockoff, and Haze, and also Flip Turn as well. So Fion's just a really, really solid Pokemon, and I'm excited that I got it as my Terra Captain in this league. So base 80 across the board is kind of unremarkable, but I think I can make it work. Next up, I got Sandaconda. Unfortunately, there's like no good ground types left in this stage of the draft, which even if I was joking, there was just no good ground types left, to be honest. So this is the part of the draft analysis where I stop memeing and just say, yeah, there's nothing left in this. Like, there's nothing good. So Sandaconda was ultimately the best ground type I could find. It has really two okay abilities with Sand Spit. One, I was gonna say Sandville was okay, but it's not because it's useless in this week with Evasion Claws. And then they have Shed Skim, which is ultimately going to be the ability it brings most times, being able to have a 30% chance to remove whatever status condition it has, while also being able to spam status conditions with Glare and like Paraspam. It gets access to Coil and Scale Shot and Iron Defense for like setup opportunities, Stealth Rock to set hazards, and then it gets Earthquake, Body Press, and like Stone Edge to just hit things with setup sets or just regular. So Sandaconda has a nice base 71 speed tier and solid attack. It has solid bulk overall. It wants to be more of a physical wall than anything, and yeah. Next up, we have the physical wall, Avalugg. So Avalugg was a panic pick for me because I needed hazard removal, and there was no rapid spinners left. I think you're going to be seeing a theme in this draft. So aside from the obvious rapid spin, Avalugg gets like really good moves to take advantage of its mammoth defense stat, like Iron Defense and Body Press. It gets Gyro Ball to take advantage of its very low speed stat. It gets Ice Spinner and Avalanche as its primary ice stabs, and it gets Earthquake just for good measure, and Recover to keep itself healthy. So its abilities, it mainly wants to be using the Sturdy ability just to eat any hit it wants to. And yeah, that's pretty much Avalugg in a nutshell. It's just a very physically bulky rapid spin Pokemon that I really enjoy using. I've been using Terra Hisuian Avalugg in UPA, and it's been pretty solid to use, which is kind of surprising in an Ubers format. But yeah, it's just a nice bulky Pokemon that just eats every hit despite not being a good defensive typing. Next up, we got Alolan Raichu. So Alolan Raichu, this is very much so a speed tier pick, and it also serves as an attempt of me trying to build up a Dark Fighting Psychic core, which is a bad mistake because there's nothing available that's a Dark type. I wanted to get Skuntank eventually in this draft, but it got sniped from me, and it kind of threw the whole plan off, if that makes sense. So Alolan Raichu, it has a nice base 110 speed tier and solid attack and special attack stats. Its bulk is nothing to write home about, but it gets access to like Volt Tackle, Volt Switch, Psychic, Thunderbolt, Surf, a Whirring Voice, and then Grass Knot for like coverage. I think it gets access to Dazzling Gleam as well. Even though like I think a Whirring Voice, well, it has no reason to run Dazzling Gleam with a Whirring Voice there. But it gets access to a lot of solid coverage out of virtue of being an evolved Pikachu. And then it gets access to really good utility with Nuzzle, Knockoff, and Encore. And that's really what sold me on Alolan Raichu, being able to spam Paralysis to slow things down for Flamigo, give Mismagius Hex opportunities, and I can also knock off to remove Heavy Duty Boots for Sandaconda, and then Encore to kind of be a nuisance to their setup sweepers. So, yeah, that's a Alolan Raichu. It has only one ability, which is Surge Surfer, which I cannot take advantage of except in like one specific matchup. So, yeah. Next up, I got Sliggoo Hisui. With all the physical bulk I've got, I needed to get a thing with special bulk, and Sliggoo Hisui was the best option available. It gets access to Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Flash Cannon, Draco Meteor, solid special coverage overall, and then it gets access to Acid Armor and Curse for physical setup. Unfortunately, it doesn't get access to Body Press, which would have been amazing for this Pokemon, but ultimately I think I can make it work since it is a special wall, and my team needed a special wall. So, Sap Sipper is going to be its primary ability. It gets gooey to, like, punish Pokemon that make contact with it by lowering their speed stat, but unfortunately I don't think it's going to be that great. And then it gets Shell Armor to be immune to critical hits. I could see that coming in helpful. Wait, is it Shell Armor or Battle Armor that's immune to critical hits? I forget. We're doing live Googling here, folks. Shell Armor. Yep, it's critical hit immunity. So same effect as Battle Armor then. So yeah, that's Sliggoo Hisui. It's just generally there to be bulky, and I got this for quite a few reasons because my team had a lot of weaknesses, and Sliggoo Hisui just patched up a lot of those. So while it is kind of a type chart filler, I think it can have good utility. Next up, we have Granbull. Granbull, I'm surprised lasted as long as it did. Technically, this thing lasted to the end of the draft, and I'm surprised by it. Because in this format, fighting types are super dominant, like Flamigo and Metachan. And Granbull being a fairy type with Intimidate to slow those things down is just super fun. And I'm surprised no one took this. Its speed tier is not good, but it has solid bulk with Intimidate plus 90 HP, 75 defense, and then it hits pretty hard with 120 base attack. Intimidate's going to be the ability of choice most weeks, and it gets access to good utility like Thunderwave, Taunt, and Roar, while also being able to hit hard with Ice Punch, Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, Play Rough, and Earthquake. So yeah, Granbull is one Pokemon that I'm happy I managed to get in this draft, just because of being a good meta pick, since a lot of the meta is going to be fighting types, and having a good Intimidate fairy type is just perfect for this draft league. So yeah, that's going to be Granbull. And here's where I started giving up on the draft. So I had like 6 points left, so I got like Coughing as a poison type. It gets like Toxic Spikes and good status spam with Toxic and Will-O-Wisp. It can be surprisingly bulky with a Violite, but ultimately I don't think Coughing's going to show up to many games despite how good of utility it gets. Especially with like Haze and Memento. Memento can give me an opportunity to, you know, set up with like Raichu, Fion, Sandaconda. I was gonna say Sandy, but then yeah, it just came out of Sandaconda. Flamigo or Magius, like it's pretty good to get momentum. It gets Explosion to get momentum while doing damage. Pain Split to heal itself up, and yeah, ultimately a lot of these abilities are pretty helpful. Levitate to be immune to ground types, and Neutralizing Gas to kind of neutralize the effects of abilities like Toxic Boost or like what's his face, I forget. It's early. But, oh, yeah, guts, stuff like that. It can be immune to that. Or it can make those effects useless. So, yeah. And finally, my last pick is Minchino as my last Terra Captain. This is just a 1-point Pokemon that I'm surprised was 1 point considering the lower tier picks. Especially with access to the first few moves on this like notable moves list. It gets access to Tidy Up to remove hazards. It gets access to Knock Off to remove items. U-Turn to pivot. Thunder Wave to just spread paras. This thing, like, despite not being that good, I think it has the opportunity to be pretty solid. Providing it'll come to a game. Providing it'll come to a game and wants to, like... Well, it doesn't even need to Terra because Fion wants to Terra most of the time. But, yeah. Skill Link with Tidy Up can be pretty annoying if unchecked. And I think it could do something in like a week 9 game where nothing matters. But, yeah, this is hands down the most scuffed draft analysis I've done. And the most scuffed team I've ever drafted. So, yeah, that is going to be my team for the PMPL Extreme Low Tier Fion Division. So yeah, I did draft the division mascot, so that's kind of a fun thing for me. But this is going to be my draft for PMPL Fion Div, and yeah, I hope to catch you all in week 1 where this absolutely atrocious team is going to go into battle. And yeah. See you guys then. Peace.